Our viewers, wherever you're watching us all over the world, welcome to this special Sunday edition of TVBakwetu TV. I'm your host. My name is Patrick Chilufya, hosting from Sussex, United Kingdom. And my guest is Mr. Bwalya Mufonka from Kopala, Kitwe. Um, Before I introduce my guest, I just want to say a few things about Mr. Bwalya Mufonka. Our guest today, as I said, is Mr. Bwalya Mufonka, who is the former president of the Mine Suppliers Association, and he's also an entrepreneur. I've known Mr. Bwalya Mufonka since the early 80s when he was living in Riverside. I used to visit my grandfather, Mr. Charles Museba, who used to live in Riverside Extension, Pungwa Street. And that time we were young and we used to play together, but now we are adults and probably we've got grandchildren now. And before I call on our guests to introduce himself, please don't forget to share this show on all our platforms, including YouTube. Don't forget to send those special stars and subscribe to Bakwetu TV. It's only $4 a month. Today it's going to be a very good program. That's why I'm encouraging you to share, because we're going to talk about a lot of things, among other things as the Black Mountain in Kitwe, including the Jerabos. We're going to also talking about supplying in the mines, supplying, and also the most popular story that has been going around, Zesco buying tenders, uh, Zesco issuing a tender to buy poles from Zimbabwe and South Africa because there's no capacity in Zambia. Before we start, just a disclaimer. Um, we're not there to condemn everybody. What we are there is to talk about issues that are there and also offer solutions. Um, Mr. Bwalya Mufonka, welcome to TVBakwetu, and please tell our viewers about yourself briefly. Thank you so much.
Thank you and good evening, viewers, and good evening, listeners. It's a rare privilege that I've been offered today to appear on this TV Bakwetu, which I've been following since 2019 when the campaigns in Zambia was very hot. As it's been mentioned by, I think he's my nephew, Patrick Chilufya. And in our tradition in Zambia, there is no young nephew, there is no old uncle, everybody, and we are friends. And that's the most important. So, my name is Bwalya Mufonka, and I was born in Kitwe, and I've been a Kitwe resident over the last 47, 48 years. And I went to school in Kitwe, and those who know me is I used to play football for a living, and I did so many things until I became an entrepreneur. I lived abroad for some time before I came back in 2008, in December of 2008. And it was thereafter that I actually joined the mine suppliers, supplying the mines, which was the then business of the day. So I have an experience of about 15 to 16 years in this kind of business. And it was at this very moment that we took advantage of the situation in 2011 when the PF came to power because they spoke about empowering of local Zambians. And I took it up myself and I joined the very mine suppliers where I was just a committee member until I rose to the rank of president. And our store business was to empower local suppliers and to actually empower capacity in our people. So that's a brief history about me. Those of you who know me knew that I went to St. John's Convent School and I later on went to St. Andrews in Ndola where I completed my school. I never went to any tertiary education after that because life was a bit hard for us. I was raised by a single mother, but not to say that I was the best in education. So I fostered in other things, and I landed myself in the UK, and I stayed for a period of about 7 to 8 years before I came back to Zambia. That's a brief history about myself. Currently, I'm a businessman. I own a company called Hereford Limited. Hereford Limited is named after the little town I lived in Hertfordshire. And this company has been in business now for a period of about 15 years. We have grown from a home company in our living room into an SME, and we're proud to say we've made a difference and a significant change in many people's lives. That's all I can say for now.
Mr. Fonka, it wasn't a mistake to bring you on this program because we've got a lot of youth who are unemployed, and most of them they don't have tertiary education. And I've known you as a fighter, and I remember at one time you even wanted to go into professional football at Incana Red Devils. You remember you were the goalkeeper.
Yes, I do
So
remember.
yes, so what a lot of youth in Zambia, you know, they need to learn from people like you that when you've got a dream, there's nothing, not even education will stop you. You don't have any tertiary qualification, but you've done much more than most of the people who have got degrees, PhDs, you know. But streetwise, you've learned everything in the street, and there you are. But anyway, there is a lot we're going to talk about. So, my youth, please start getting closer, especially those people who are supplying, wants to start the SMEs. Come, start sharing this program. Now, Mr. Mfonka, let's start the game. Let the game begin. I understand you were the president of the Mine Suppliers Association between 2011 and 2018. And then in 2019, you had put your head on the chopping board and joined UPND. Just like myself, though I joined UPND slightly earlier than you, and even appeared on Prime TV with UPND president, now His Excellence President HH. I've got a question for you, uh, my brother. There's a perception out there in Kopala that you benefited so much out of the mines, because of your position as president of the Mine Mine Suppliers Association. Did you? Over to
Um,
you. Over to you.
I can answer in two folds: what is benefit and what is taking advantage of the situation. When I came in 2011, I was a mayor member of the association, which was led by Mr. Fanwo Banda, senior citizen, and Mr. Fanwo Banda had fought battles between 2000 up to 2909 when we started punching holes into his association. And Mr. Banda was very much accommodating, and he let us come through his ranks. And we now realize that actually being in the association meant that you needed to use a lot of personal resources, meant that you actually missed out on a lot of businesses because you were seen to be a thorn in the flesh. So when people say I benefited, it depends on what kind of benefits. Yes, of course, I actually had now a privilege of meeting a lot of CEOs, a lot of supply managers, but we never got anything on a silver plate. Everything that I did and my friends did was through hard work. I took advantage, yes, in terms of now I learned how to do business better, in terms of now knowing what the actually requirements in the mines were and what the mines required us to do. This is how we started now partnering with companies that I already had known abroad who were supplying directly through South Africa or through the local mines in Zambia. So that was one of the beneficiaries that we actually achieved. So my company now is a fully fledged company which can boast of having about 15 of foreign companies who we represent in different sectors of processing plants. So that was
That
one of the biggest benefits.
that's fantastic. And our viewers also, some of our viewers would love to know that there's also another perception that when you stop benefiting from the mines, you change your allegiance to UPND and you started supporting UPND and HH. Is that true?
Well, again, I would say I would not try and blow my own trumpet because if I'd wanted in 2018, when the PF was at its mercy, they offered me a lot of things. And I would have continued if I really wanted. I would have continued with the PF and supported blindly, but I wanted to stand on the right side of the people and so that history can judge me. I actually quit everything and I lost out on a lot of businesses. My businesses at Zesco were terminated. I had a very huge contract which was awarded to us. It was terminated. A lot of mines would not allow me in. We had stayed for 3.5 years with KCM not paying me. And for your own information, at that period, I was very good friends with the then Secretary General of the party, of the Patriotic Front, who were together every day. And he always advised me to actually take the box and not to take the money, which was there. He actually encouraged me to say, look, it depends on what you stand for. And I stood for the people, and this affected me. At one point, I was on the blinks of collapse, where most of our properties were going to be grabbed because we had owed the banks a lot of money. And I was persuaded that if I had met and announced to discredit then the current president, HH, PF would actually make my life rosy. But I saw this as a temporal a benefit, and I wanted to be judged of what I had spoken before. Remember, it was at a time when it was very difficult for people to come out and say they were going to support UPND. And for a fact, I am not a member of UPND. I am a friend of the president, HH, and his UPND party. I have never been a politician. I'm a businessman. But when I see where I can help, I will not reverse or I will not hold up, but I will come straight. Even today, I call the president a friend and I call the UPND a friend who I have supported to come through to power.
That's fantastic, Mr. Mufonka. And then, what happened when you decided to to become a friend of UPND and HH. I understand you went through hell. Can you just briefly tell the viewers, and what did you do? Because I know you just briefly mentioned your businesses were affected. They stopped you supplying. Then what happened? What did you do? Because you didn't just sit and start crying. Thank you.
No, what happened was I think we had a meeting with the then Minister of Mines, Richard Musukwa, where we did not agree on a lot of things, especially on the empowerment. We wanted to pass legislation. We had already moved a milestone with the former Minister of Mines, Christopher Yaluma. And what was now, we were supposed to introduce a private members bill. But you see, there was divide and rule in which we were offered things to discredit our friends so that we do not pass. They were saying if we empower the local Zambians, they will rise against the government and they will have financial muscle to fight us. And this is what we fought. So in that particular meeting, I think I made a statement unknowingly that somebody was actually recording me. I made a mistake that, look, this person you call a tribalist. I'm Bemba, and I'm going to support a Tonga because I think it's hard time that Zambians benefited from the resources. So somebody had actually recorded me, and this recording went viral. And within our meeting ending, I had received more than 25 phone calls from close friends of mine who had said, "What have you just done, or what have you just said in the meeting?" I said, "I haven't said anything," because I was thinking this was a private meeting where the Minister of Mines was. And they sent me the recording. And the truth of the matter is the recording was quite toxic, in that it had mentioned President Edgar Lungu and his failures. And it also highlighted that I was going to push through the support of HH and UPND through our association. Remember, I have a following of about 10,000. These are not individuals, but these are 10,000 SMEs who were in our group. And I was saying, I have fought a lot of battles for this association, and I can use this association to actually champion the coming of power to UPND in a way on the Copper Belt, because you know the Copper Belt is a very, very strange province, and it's a province which swings in different directions. It makes somebody a president, it makes a party win elections, and that's what we actually did. Now, when I heard this, I took a very deep breath and said, "What have you just done?" And my friends told me, especially my close friends told me, "I don't think we should be able to be together, because whatever you have said, these people come for you." And I remember one of my friends, who I cannot mention today, received a call from Honorable Malanje, and the president was on the other side of the line, and they asked him, "What is it that we have done to this person?" And everybody said, "No, this is a disgruntled person. Even the support that he's talking about is now not even around, not here and there. He's just a loner, and really nothing is going to affect your election on the Copper Belt," which they were very, very wrong. Because I had fought for a lot of individuals, a lot of SMEs, and people believed in me. And this is how I said, look, if I had done something wrong, which I didn't believe, then I wouldn't continue. But I was very optimistic, even when I was called by the then district commissioner. I refused to go and attend his meeting, and I said I will stand by my word, and I stood for that. And after that, I think the president took a very big chance, President HH, and he tried by all means to try and get my phone number. I remember Elisha Matambo, current Minister of the Copper Belt, calling me, says, "Oh, my name," he introduced himself, and he told me who he was. And I said, "Oh, fantastic." Says, "The president would like to talk to you. If you are available, please." I said, "Yeah, no problem." I was thinking this was all a joke and just fiction. And within 20 minutes, I had President HH on the line. And that's how me and him started talking in 2019. He invited me to his house, and it was now a periodical meeting until him and I actually reached a goal of what we were going to do. It was at this particular time that actually PF did their homework, and they found out that I had a lot of support amongst the suppliers. So what did they do? They went ahead and formed another association to discredit me. Now, the association which I was heading was afraid that they would also follow suit. So I said, look, I think it's better to sacrifice one person than to sacrifice the whole people. So that's how in 2019, I had to resign. And I was escorted out of the offices by military police. And I remember people discrediting me that I was a loner, but the support that I had, and actually after sitting down with President HH, I thought we would actually reach somewhere. It took us about a year and a half to actually come and have that broadcast that we had in 2019 now, to actually now formalize
on Prime TV.
on Prime TV, yeah, before it was closed. And I had a very rare opportunity, which a lot of Zambians do not have, of sitting down with President HH before he became president. And I actually bought into his roadmap. I bought into his ideas. I bought in what he wanted to do. And the future looked bright. And I said, look, I was going to sacrifice my family, sacrifice my business, and join this person. I would have what I actually told the president, because he asked me, he said, "Are you sure of what you're doing? Because this thing is going to bring you a lot of problems." I said, "I would rather die a poor man knowing I stood right for the people than die a rich man and people suffering in our country." So that's how I came to be a friend to the president. The president told me, "Don't join politics." I don't know why he never wanted me to join politics, but he just said, "I want you to be an annex of the presidential support team," which we actually did. And we did very well in the Copper Belt. I cannot sing my own music that was the reason why he won, but we made a small contribution with whatever we said. I was insulted on Facebook. I was insulted on a lot of forums, but I think we persevered until 12th August, when we made it into forming government.
My brother, you're very strong, and I hope our youth are listening to you. The world is not for the faint-hearted, and our youth were used to handouts, and they were so scared they couldn't even speak. Now, my brother, indeed, I believe you are from Chinsali, because as Chinsali people, we're not scared of anything. So, Walia, you're such a strong man. I'm sorry to call you Walia. I know you, Mr. Mfonka, but I have to
Well,
call
it's
you
good.
Walia. Walia, you're such a strong man, because at that time, Copper Belt, Wale Umfwa, the bulldozer, saying Copper Belt is a no-go area. So whoever openly supports HH, Iron Upper Prime TV, you were a danger to the nation. And there must have been, secret security following you everywhere, but you never gave up. And I need to commend you for that, because without you and other people who had put their jobs, their lives, on the chopping board just to deliver Zambia. But then, Wadia, I've got a question for you. You said one of the reasons why you left, you were not happy about the situation that time, is because uh, Zambians were not benefiting from the mines, those who were supplying. And when you spoke to HH, you bought into the roadmap, that HH had, and you were happy, and you decided to be a friend of UPND and HH. Now, my question is, are Zambians benefiting now from the mines? Just briefly, because I know we're gonna go into that in detail.
I think we
Has
would be.
anything changed
Yeah,
from what you were fighting for?
look, I think it would be irrational or very harsh of us to actually judge the UPND within 7 months. This is not. Look, they've started with a lot of economic benefits which people do not see. That man on the road, that man in that lady in the market will not appreciate. We do appreciate with some of the instruments of finances that they've actually started. You need to understand that this country was ripped apart, and rebuilding is not going to take 2 days. I have had a very big privilege of being called by the president. He's called me, which means he has not forgotten what we had agreed, and I'm giving him time. And from some of the things that he's done, forming the SME ministry, uh, commerce ministry, putting
Sorry, Wadia, you're freezing. Are you there?
a young man who is from KCF, who was an engineer at KCF, putting Kabuse, who's also an engineer from CBU, and his Mr. Mine.
Okay.
We've got heavy rains in Kitwe, so the network should
Yes,
be
I know.
playing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. But you're
Yes.
still okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
So the indications are there. Look at the young Minister of Commerce is Putin, a vibrant young man, an engineer. I personally don't know him, but I've actually met him once, and we have a meeting with him. And you can see that the president means business by trying to engage me and the ministers. So we actually have meetings set up. I have left the association, but I have not left the fight. And we've got a new interim committee, which is there. We've got fresh elections coming up, and we want to work hard. You see, the biggest problem we have in our country is that we believe things should be given to us. We believe things should come easy. We're going to fight for this. He's given us a platform in which to do it, and it's up to us now to achieve these goals. So that's where we are right now.
That's fantastic. Bwalya, most of us who bought into the roadmap of HH or vision of HH, and we still support this government because we're saying there's no way we can judge this government 7 months into power, 4 months into their budget. But Bwalya, you and me, we grew up together in the 80s. Let's just start from the 80s when we were young. If you ever remembered any government that employed 42,000 civil servants in 4 months of their budget.
Not even UNIPAC.
Over to you. Yeah.
Look, I think when we were younger, not even UNIPAC actually had the capacity to do that. And right now, it is a commendable job with all what's happening around. Especially some of us who understand the economics of the world, that you can employ that's and it's quite a very huge number, which has been employed by government. And I think going forward, we need to. These are some of the good things that the government has done, and going forward, we need to support each and every development. We're talking about salaries of civil servants. We're talking about settlements of these workers, and it's a huge cost. And we've got a lot of youths who are actually roaming the streets. So it's a commendable job for the government to do that.
And then we've got some propagandists going to the media attacking this government because fuel prices have gone up. What can you say about to these people? And the other thing is, are these people also, when the fuel prices start going down, are they going to go to the broadcasting, social media, and tell the people that HH is doing well because fuel prices have gone down? Over to you.
I think it's a simple thing. We need to understand what's happening around us. We're not an island. We do not manufacture or produce petroleum, and we have to sort out a huge cost of debt which has remained behind. We also need to understand as people that this time in our lives we've got what we call social media, and we've got information on our fingertips. So I think it's a good thing that people are talking. People should complain, because if people are not complaining, then how are we going to protect ourselves? Yes, the fuel has gone up. Yes, it's going to hurt me. But I also need to understand that there are fundamentals that are making the fuel go up. And if we want to build what we want to build, is it possible for us to go back to subsidies? The subsidies that our friends had spoken about, they had left over $900 million worth of debt, which this current government is paying, and nobody's talking about that. They were saying our friends left fuel at a certain price. But has anybody spoken about the debt that they've left? Today, I was reading something on social media about the Yusuf brothers. Has anybody spoken about that kind of money which the current government has stopped paying? So these are some of the things that we need to actually try and talk about. And those of us who understand, let us go out there and preach, and let us go and tell our people what's really happening on the ground. Because at the current situation where we are, Zambia is in a mess. And if there was no change of government, this country would have come to a halt. I'm not a supporter. I'm not a blind supporter. Yes, the fuel has gone up. I do understand that. A lot of things are going to come up. But one thing that I actually have seen in my country is that no matter how HH is going to work, if the Zambian people do not work hard, we're not going nowhere. Zambian people, I'm afraid to say, we are very lazy people. We don't want to work. We are very much interested in handouts. And one of the handouts which has been given is what we're going to talk about. I don't want to preempt it. Is this thing of giving citizens as an empowerment of funds of doing this? I think it's wrong. We need to try and empower people by working hard. I think if we can have a majority, especially the youth, they see you today driving a car around, and the next day they also want to join the same kind of business and make it within a day. They don't know where you have come from. I have a history of where I've come from. I just didn't start my business today. I was in the UK where you are, and the UK means we did a lot of works which a lot of youths here today wouldn't want to do because they said we've been to university. We did cleaning, we did road sweeping, we did a lot of things. I worked in restaurants, you know.
And
I washed
you made
dishes.
a lot of money. You made a lot of money.
Yeah, but in my country, everybody wants a white collar job. They want something to be done today. They want to be given things for free, and only hard work. You see, if we said let's empower our youth in terms of agriculture, nobody wants to go into agriculture. Everybody wants to be in the Black Mountain. Everybody wants to be in the mines. But you know, agriculture is not saturated. Why are people and youth not going in there? Because it's hard work, and people don't want to work hard. So for me, I would like this government to make a deliberate policy of every youth to try and have a tax number and produce something. And that's the only way we're going to develop our country. Let's not wait for HH and this government to develop. Let's develop ourselves. And that's how we're going to contribute. The government is there to make an enabling environment for us to succeed.
Mr. Mufonka, you're such an inspiration and a good example for the young people. And I hope the young people are listening. But Bwalya, before we go into something else, we were on the issue of fuel prices going up. And this is a global thing. Bwalya, UK is one of the richest countries in the world. I think we are the third or fourth biggest economy in Europe, and I think the seventh or eighth economy in the world. The government hasn't subsidized the fuel. So last time, thank God I drive electric car, but last time I went to the petrol station a few months ago, fuel was £1.29. Today it's £1.70, and you know what? Yes, 40 pence increase is a lot. You know, and then countries like Botswana, they've got reserves. They've increased the fuel. Why didn't they use the reserves to cushion the prices? You know, Canada, that produces a lot of crude. The prices have gone up. But anyway, let's not talk about that. The challenge, Walia, we've got, and this is what this government has been talking about, there are too many middlemen in the procurement of crude. And not only that, we've got Angola next door, which can supply crude just quickly into Zambia, maybe build a pipeline from Angola into northwestern province and build another refinery. If they are saying Indeni cannot process the Angolan crude oil, what do you what is your advice to the government going forward? This is a medium and long term thing.
For me, the long term is to revive Indeni. I think it would be a fantastic thing in that it will provide jobs. I've always been a critic of government, that government should never be a business which makes a profit, but it should be an entity which provides an enabling environment to create employment, to create finances, and to actually empower its own people. And going forward, look, Angola, we've spoken about Angola, I think, from when I was in grade school. We read about the Benguela. That's the same thing that's going to happen. We've got the Tazama. Let's just try and pump in money into Tazama, and let's try and make it independent as possible. You see, most of these parastatals have been run down because of political interference. So if we can find a partner who can actually come through in Deni and we can run this, I think would actually save some costs. Because what are we going to do with the infrastructure from Dar es Salaam into Ndola? Why should we go and build a new one? I think the PF, when they came into power, they built a lot of reserve facilities around the provinces, provincial headquarters, which is a plus. But I think going forward, we can just try and revive Indeni. I think, why can't we modernize it? That's the best way we can try and revive. Ndola is almost a closed door, but if Indeni came back, I think would actually feel the trickle-down effect of a lot of businesses and a lot of employment. I think going forward, I'm a supporter of let's revive Ndeni and Tazama.
So you're not for the idea of Angola?
No, I think it's a massive infrastructure which needs a lot of money, and at the moment Zambia has got no luxuries of funds to actually pump into that. A new baby which will take years to come. I think if they started today, it would look about 5 years. What the people of Zambia are looking at are results, and then it can be changed around. Plants now are easy to build. It's to take 6-7 months, and they will have a new plant.
Yeah, let's move now quickly into real issues now. And we're getting closer to what you know best, supplying. Last week, Mr. Mufonka, that Zesco announced that they have offered a tender to supply poles to 10 Zimbabwean and South African companies, no Zambian company at all. Not only, but again, we understand that not only the poles that are given to foreign companies, but other things like generators, cables, and etc., that leaves to a Zambian supplier or SME without anything. And they are saying the reason behind this is because Zambian companies, including Zafico, don't have the capacity to do that. Mr. Mufonka, is this true? And what's your opinion?
Firstly, when I read this, and I thought it was social media propaganda, I was thinking people are just pulling our legs. What is capacity? That is the biggest question you should ask. The biggest, I think we should try and go backwards before we go forward. What today is called an entrepreneur in our last government was a political cadre. Okay? Business was being made even where there was no business. They were creating a lot of tenders for cadres, and this was a way of siphoning money out of government, out of parastatals, out of every other sector, local government, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. Now, the perception that we have today is that any supplier is called a PF corrupt person. Even in the PF, there were proper businessmen and women who actually did a proper job. But you see, the way of governance in our country is that UPND is in power today. When you get a tender, your company is aligned to the current government of the day. So it's very difficult for you to differentiate a company which is professional and a company which is supported by UPND. A lot of tenders went through ministers. That's how people siphoned the money out of ministries. That's how our friends in the ministers actually got a lot of money. It was through these tenders. They created jobs. It's a shame that the Attorney General was signing tenders when even there was no money. Okay, and a lot of tenders went through. There are people who had a lot of feeder roads who were questioned that they don't even have a wheelbarrow or anything. So this is the biggest problem that has gone. Now, the perception again today is Zambians don't have capacity. We don't want the tenderpreneurs. You need to understand that 80% of the business and revenue collection is from SMEs in this country. We have very few, I think we have less than 1 million people on formal employment, direct formal employment. On the copper belt here, I think out of every 10 companies, 9 or 8 are SMEs. Mupani survives on SMEs. KCM survives on SMEs. Kansanshi is giving us about 2-5%. So a lot of SMEs are responsible for the benefits that you see in Kitwe, for all the employment that you see in Kitwe. I think I have never seen an international company which has established itself. If you look at Mupani right now, it's the local suppliers who are actually carrying. They have not paid them for the last 5-6 months. So the mine is in operation, which means it's the local SMEs who are actually supporting it. So we need to remove that slogan which was there, and we need to actually take another route of saying, look, let us empower our own people. This Zesco thing, I remember in 2013, I heard you say GBM was given a tender for poles. Yes, he was given. He was not the only one who was given. I was one of the people who actually benefited from that tender. The way it was run very professionally by then Zesco management. It's not everything that they did was wrong. And what they had calculated how much poles were going to, it was going to cost for a pole to actually arrive at Zesco stores. And even in that stage, we still used a lot of Zimbabwean and South African companies. But the trickle-down effect was felt because it was a Zambian SME who actually paid for the poles and not Zesco. So here what we are saying is Zesco wants to pay directly to these companies, take our foreign exchange through Zesco, okay? And then they will have to wait for 15 weeks for the first delivery of poles to come. And Zesco still has to pay for transport. And Zesco still has to pay for tax. But if you gave a person like me, I'll be the one to take out the money. The risk is on me, okay? I will be the one to pay the Zimbabwean companies or do a joint venture. And then when we get paid, and something small is going to arrive and is going to reach Kitwe. Because what you're saying is, if my company, for example, got the tender to supply logs, poles, whatever you call them, the eucalyptus poles, we will be the one to go and agree and meet our finances, who are the banks, and we will say, look, this is the situation we're in. We've got this program, and the biggest thing that is wrong with Zesco is that they don't pay. They're very backwards in terms of payment. I heard they were saying, no, people have not finished supplying poles. They haven't been paid for over a year. Even the contractors haven't been paid over 7-8 months, because these were, I think, including the PF, we're not talking about a year or 2 years. So when you don't pay, where is Zesco going to have money today and pay directly to these companies? What we are saying is, it's never too late. It's always good to reverse things. Let them reverse this and let them spread. I think somebody was mentioning that we are short for about 120,000 poles, right? Yes. So let us empower about 10,000 companies. Let's have a minimum and a maximum. Let us work out how much it's going to cost. Let us say a 15-20% profit. I think there are a lot of Zambians who can do that. That's a very big benefit. And still, even the last time we bought poles, they still came from Zimbabwe. Some came from locally with Safico, okay? Some came from CCF. So I think it's better to actually spread this risk over a longer period, and I think we can manage and we can bring it in good time. But I think going forward, if at all we haven't heard anything from Zesco, which is concrete, like a written proof, I think let Zesco re-advertise this and do a tender for local supplies. You see, again, let's not say it's the UPND. Zesco is a parastatal. The president has given power to Mr. Mapani to run Zesco. He's not going to be interfering of how Mr. Mapani and his procurement team are going to be conducting business, because that's the problem that we had the last time. So what we are saying is, it's not too late. Let's go backwards and let us go and advertise this and let us spread the risk over a lot of people. I remember when the mine retirees were given to supply sand in Mupani. I think the order was something like 1 billion kwacha. Now, these retirees were told the price of the sand delivered at Mupani should be so much. So whoever had the capacity would actually just go to supply department and say, look, we are able to supply, and they'll be given an order. And this was now scaling down from the 1 billion. And a lot of people benefited on that. What we want is that person on the ground, that person who you call a briefcase supplier, benefiting. Because if you gave somebody from Shangombo, from Mongo, 10 trucks of poles, and he makes himself 50,000 kwacha or 60,000 kwacha, that's capital. Okay? Instead of you going to say, we're going to give you money so you can grow your plant, so we can give you this, we're going to go through CDF. This Zesco poles, this is big money. Going forward, Zesco knows what it needs in future. So why don't we say, let us empower locally through a CSR and start growing our own poles? Because in the next 20, 30 years, we'll still need this poles.
All that thought, Bwalya, Mr. Mufonka, we're gonna talk about that, because if we knew in 2013 there was this problem, why didn't the PF do nothing? Because you, Bwalya, you would have wanted to go into the tree planting, and those trees you would have planted them for the future, for your grandchildren, for your children. But we'll talk about that later. Let's move on. So what you're saying, I'll still keep you on the spotlight so that people can see you. So what you're saying is, what is happening at Zesco is also happening at the mines, which means a lot of people, young people, 10,000 suppliers in Kopala are going to be in trouble, are going to be out of jobs. They won't have money. So, Bwalya, and we're going to go deeper later. You're doing business in Congo, but we'll talk about that later. And you know what Congo is doing. A lot of people think Congo is disorganized, but you tell us later what's happening in Congo. So, Walia, what form of registration or laws that our government needs to enact to protect the local businesses, the SMEs for that matter, and encourage entrepreneurship, especially in Kopala and Northwestern Province? Over to you, my brother.
Firstly, there's a man called Honorable Bob Schinga, who was a commerce minister during the SATA regime. It was unfortunate that he left very early in his ministerial capacity because he was working on what we called local content. In Zambia, our law is very weak in terms of formation of a company. It says produce an ID. It does not stipulate produce a national registration card of Zambia or a passport of Zambia. So any foreigner can walk into Zambia and register a company. You understand?
Mr. Mufonka, hold that thought. We're gonna talk about that later, but continue about the problems that supplying at the mine.
Yeah, so the biggest problem first we had was we needed to enact a law. So we needed to change a law starting from PACRA of what is a Zambian company. Because a Zambian company can be limited but owned by Smith and children who are from Zambia. But Zambia Limited, and you call that a Zambian company. So this is what we have to formalize and say, look, let us enact a law which will empower. And we deliberately copied from BEE of South Africa, said we needed to enact a law which stated, let us empower a black Zambian. Yes. Everybody said, oh, we're being racist. I said, majority of the Zambians are black. BEE means black. So we're not going to run away from the fact that Zambians are blacks. Of course, we've got mixed races. Of course, we've got Asians as Zambians. But what we're saying is black Zambians were to come first. So we'll enact a law. If this Zesco tender goes through, and Zimbabweans and South Africans supply, we're going to crash on the copper belt. Already we have crashed in Chambishi, we have crashed in Northwestern provinces. What am I saying? We have been trying to force the mines into supporting the local companies. Now, if a local Zambian parastatal will be the first to deny us that chance, imagine what Kansanshi, Kalumbila, Lumwana, and the Chinese mines in Chambeshi will say to us, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. This should be stopped at all costs. I don't want to bring in the big guns to go and stop it. I think I have a lot of respect for the managing director at Zesco, the procurement manager at Zesco. They can change this. Yes, mistakes were done. And I understand the prudence of them having this pause urgently, but I don't think it's more important than empowering our local people. And I think we've got the capacity. If we have a capacity of producing a president like HH, we have the capacity to bring pause into Lusaka. I think that is where we should take it to.
That's fantastic, Mr. Mufonka. So, in essence, what you're saying is, you've just opened my mind. What you've said, because I listen very carefully. I am one of those people who pay attention to detail when somebody is talking. And one of the things I picked from you was that Zesco, which is a parastatal, is not only poles, there are cables, transformers. They are buying them straight from abroad, bypassing the Zambian supplier, the poor Zambian supplier. So if other mines that are owned by foreigners can see that a Zambian indigenous parastatal is doing that, what will stop them? Because they will say, why didn't you stop Zesco? We're also going to buy from South Africa, the UK. which means at the end of the day, nothing is going to belong because they are taking all the money abroad. Even the little that they can, you know, uh, you know, pay the local suppliers to improve the standards of living of Zambians, then the copper belt will be finished. And you mentioned that copper belt is very critical when it comes to electing a president. So maybe somewhere our party UPND needs to look. They need to watch what is happening in the copper belt. Let's move forward. Yeah, we've talked about Zesco, and one of the things I want to ask you is we talked about Michael Sata, the pause that were the order that were given to GBM in 2013. It was in the newspapers that you said you were one of them. So, Mr. Mufonka, we knew that time. We're talking of almost 10 years ago, and it takes that period to grow those trees. How come nothing happened? Why can't Zesco, in conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of SMEs in our government now, oh, this should have been done 10 years ago, we lost it, start an outgrower scheme? Imagine if Zambia Sugar was buying sugar canes from South Africa. They have an outgrower scheme. What do you think is the long-term solution? Over to
First,
you, Mr. Mfonka.
firstly, we have a very lazy citizenry in our country. This is one of the biggest problem that we have, and people take advantage, and they will not actually advise anybody to grow trees because they want to make money in the short term. As we are talking today, why is there no deliberate policy by all these who want to empower youth to say, let's just go on trees? Because the money will come 15, 20 years when you are no more. We always want to make money for today. We never want to make money for the future. I have never seen future Zambian money. I always see present money. When somebody dies and their money dies, nobody makes money for the future. These are some of the things that we need to invest in. And these are some of the things that need to be taught with our university graduates. We need to stop a situation where every time you want to be employed, we need to actually invest in, I want to create employment. If you came today and took 100 youth from the copper belt and say, let's go and grow trees, they will think you're mad. What are these trees for? Not knowing in the future, this is what is going to create wealth for their families. We always want to do things the wrong way. So there's also a deliberate policy of not rolling up what is needed in the next 20 years. There's always a deliberate policy of knowing that in Zambia, in the next 10 years, our population will grow by almost 5-6 million. Where are we going to get land from? What are they going to do in social aspect of settlement? What are they going to do in terms of employment? All these things are not planned. So our planning is also terrible. But we are very quick to say the person at State House is making mistakes. When are we going to have our planners do their work? Because not everything is the president going to be doing for us. So this is where our problem is. And then the other thing also that we have is 60% of our youth, this is a true fact, are drunkards. They would rather make money today and drink and not look at the future. So we have problems, and they're deep rooted. And I think what I would like is the formation of these cooperatives, because I think when you have a cooperative, you've got a confluence of intelligence, of which people can invest in a lot of things. We also need the Citizens Bureau, like you guys have in the UK and America, where citizens are advised of what is there that they can do in terms of future, present, and how we can actually benefit in terms of what the government would like. We need to know that, I remember it's like in Solwezi, there's no stone. In Luapula, there is no stone, but nobody's investing in a crusher. We have to take stones from the copper belt to Chiengi, with transport costing you over 40,000 kwacha. You're carrying stones worth 3,000 kwacha. So why can't we put a deliberate policy? Look, we're going to be building a road in Chiengi. We need somebody to go and do crushing there. We need Dangote to open up a cement depot. We need somebody to open up a steel depot. These are some of the things that we don't look at. You see, we are very much focused on being around these big cities. We would rather open a car wash than actually go and plant trees. So that's where we are lacking in terms of capacity as Zambians.
You know, just a comment. That was fantastic. But you mentioned something very important, that as Zambians, we're lazy. We just want to work. We don't want to create employment. But you also mentioned the role of the government to provide things like the Citizens Bureau, help these youth, what kind of business they can do, how can they do their business, and also the questions they've got. But, Bwalya, you lived in the UK. In the UK, I think Zambians needs to learn that, because a lot of people think we're going to have an investor who's going to create 20,000 jobs or 50,000 jobs. Most of the jobs in the UK are owned by SMEs. And they employ over 60% of the people in the UK. And you won't believe it. And these jobs are plumbers, bricklayers, sweeping, cleaning companies. You know that, Bwalya. A contract to have people who cleans in the streets, even the people who pick up the bins, rubbish bins, they are owned by SMEs, but they get support from the government. And you mentioned Citizen Bureau and all other form of support. Let's move forward. Bwalya, when you had problems with the when you left, when you started supporting PF, you had a lot of problems, but you didn't just sit down. So you decided to start a business in Congo because you couldn't do anything in Zambia. So you started a company there in Congo, and I understand you've got a company that supplies the mines there in Congo. There are two questions there. What do you do? What does that company do? What do you supply, and which mines do you supply? And then second question is, what is the law regarding foreigners supplying mines in Congo? Are you allowed, I'm asking yourself now, a foreigner, a Zambian supplying in Congo, are you allowed to take all the sales out of Congo? How come Congo, that appears to be destabilized from the outside, has laws to protect the locals? Can you tell us some of those laws? And if possible, if you can remember the questions that I've asked you.
Yes, I think you asked, two questions, and you've actually done like a metaphor, which the same question. Yes, correct.
Yeah, I've gone round.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, it's very interesting. People who see me think I started business in the Congo yesterday. I first stepped in the Congo in 2016. In August, we attended an exhibition. When I was a mine supplier, I met some Congolese nationals who came to Zambia, and I was also as ignorant as the Zambians that look, nothing happens in the Congo. Everything in the Congo is jangolo. Until these commerce people from the DRC Lubumbashi invited us for an exhibition. And out of curiosity, I decided that we should attend. It was a very, very expensive. I think the participation fee was about $6,000. And they told me if I raised about 4 companies, they would actually give me a discount of 50%. Unfortunately, I was the only company which actually exhibited at that show. And to move forward, we have never regretted. And I think we have actually improved as a company, and we've actually grown. And 90% of our business today comes from the DRC. We supply major mines called Tenke Fungurume. We supply Glencore mines called Kamoto Copper Mines. We supply one of the biggest mines in Congo called Kamoa. We supply a mine called MMG, and we supply a mine called Metalco. Now, we have a company which we had to form because the Congolese law does not allow a foreign company to do any services, including picking up a jack in the plant. So you need to actually do a joint venture with the Congolese. Now, this is where we had a problem. Fortunate for me, in my family, we have, as you know, Bembas, we are both from Congo and Luapula. So I are fortunate enough, my mother-in-law is Congolese, so we had a joint venture in Congo, and we formed a company which was like a mirror of the company that we had in Zambia. So both companies were known as the same names, but one was a Congolese company, of which 51% shareholding is for a Congolese, and our company has an equity of 49% shareholding. But then we had to write in the constitution that this whole company will be fully owned and supplied by a Zambian company called Hereford. So we actually now had to buy into the 51% shareholding of that company. So we became the majority shareholder of 60%, so that we had now the power to run the company. Now, in Congo, once you register as a Congolese company, there is a deliberate policy which the Congolese government have formulated that all contracts should be given to this company. So every time you tender for jobs, they want you to supply a bank, local bank, which is registered in Congo. You need to supply them with your identity cards. And if it's foreign influence, you have to show that. If you are foreign money, it has to show us, and they're given a rebate. The mines in Congo are run so professionally that you can never believe. And Congolese have benefited. The unfortunate thing is that not very many Congolese are into this business. But the Congolese who are in this business are benefiting a lot, including ourselves. We get paid in Congo, and we are only allowed to take out the profit. At the end of the year, when we do our income tax, we are allowed to take what we had invested. So every year there's a new investment license called SIGAS. So we are not allowed to actually take the entire amount of money out of Congo at any given time. So these are some of the things that we agreed to. And today's copper is fetching at $10,000, $11,000. And the benefits that Zambia is losing are huge. I think I'm one of the very few individuals or very few companies that has got a base in Congo. We have an office and we've employed Congolese. Of course, we've had our teething problems, but I'm always in Congo every other week, and we are pushing. And our company has grown from 100,000 to a bigger bracket, which I cannot mention. And we're doing extremely well in the Congo. And going forward, our company in Zambia has also, because of what we have done in the Congo, started doing extremely well on the Zambian side. I think last year, in terms of turnovers in Zambia, we were less than $15,000. That's how bad we were treated. But on the other side, I think things were better for us, and we've made a name. We are competing with multinational companies from South Africa. What we parade ourselves in is good delivery, quality. We are importing all over, and we have brought also our clients who are from abroad, America, Europe, okay, who we represent in terms of acid plant and processing spares, pumps. And also we are dealing with the Chinese. Imagine we are dealing with Chinese man and we are buying products from the Chinese. So even these Chinese that we say do not obey laws, in Congo they do. So it's just upon how you have formulated the enactment of power of your citizens. That's what we've done. So they're doing a tremendous job, and it's very, very organized. In terms of payment, within 7 days of your delivery, 14 days, 21 days, you're paid. And it comes through a SWIFT. The payment comes directly from Congo into our Zambian account, from Congo into our Congolese account. And I have a Congolese account which I do sign, and I think I'm an investor in Congo. So it's quite interesting. Now, again, the people in Zambia don't want to travel to Congo. They would rather ask you, can you give us a phone number for the procurement manager? Nobody has ever told me, can you carry me to go to Congo? What is the business that's there? I took a very big risk to go there, and we have established ourselves. But here in Zambia, we are still waiting for mana to come down. So that's one thing about the Congolese. They're very, very organized. And they speak English, by the way, in these plants. And the majority of the suppliers in Congo are South Africans. Again, they have beaten us. Imagine they had to jump Zimbabwe and Zambia to go into the Congo. Whilst us here in Zambia, we are still calling them Bakongole, where the GDP of Katanga province cannot be compared to our budget here.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's bravery. And our president has been talking about doing business with the Congolese. Let's stop calling them what did the president say? Smugglers. They are our business partners, and there you are. But what you've mentioned about important things here. Why can't the government pass a deliberate law to protect the Zambian businesses, suppliers. You lived in South Africa. I remember we met in Cape Town. I don't know whether it was Johannesburg or Cape Town when I moved to South Africa. When I moved to Cape Town from Johannesburg. Yeah, when I joined BP. And in South Africa, no foreigner would come and open a business. Even the existing companies, when they passed that B law, at least 40% of any company in South Africa should be controlled by the black people. Botswana, just our neighbor there, they've passed very strong laws to protect local businesses. In Botswana, they've even put thresholds. An SMEs needs to bring at least $500,000 to start business in Botswana, and then a company needs to bring minimum $5 million to start a company in Botswana. And when you look at new companies starting in Botswana, you know about De Beers, Botswana. The biggest diamond producing mine in the whole world. We're talking about a single mine. When De Beers went into Botswana, the Swana government says yes, we you can mine the diamonds, but we have to go into a joint venture 50-50. They tried to play some games, they couldn't, and that's how they formed the joint venture. It's called the Botswana or De Beers Botswana joint venture. So I think that's what we need as a nation. Now, Bwalya, you mentioned something when we were chatting yesterday. You mentioned something very, very important. I understand the procurement budget for Kopala and Northwestern Mines is about 7 billion kwacha. And Zambians benefit about 0.05%. So this is similar to what Zesco is doing. So what does the government need to do to, because if it was even 10%, Kitwe would be something else. What does the government, what we need to do? Because you mentioned also that it's only in Zambia where a South African company can come, a South African with a South African ID, opens a company at Pakra, and it's called I'll just give an example: Deban Mining Supplies Limited, with a South African bank account, FNB in South Africa, not in Lusaka, not in Zambia. And when they supply, they are paid into South Africa. So which means they are taking everything, capital, everything back to South Africa. What do we need to do as a nation? What is your advice to our leaders?
Firstly, I want to correct you. The sale of copper between 2017 and 2018, at its peak, and 2011 to 2016, at its peak of $1,000 per ton. The procurement budget was $3.6 billion.
So thank you for correcting me.
Okay,
but still, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That's 50% of our budget.
Yes.
Because I remember the output of the sale of copper was at $7.8 billion. Now, again, us Zambians are all authors of our own misfortunes. Okay? What you don't know, and what I know, and what he knows, nobody knows. I hope you understand that.
Yes.
You can hide a $100 bill in a Bible in your house, and it will remain there for the whole year until you go and take it out on Christmas Day, because nobody reads the Bible. It is not up to government. It's up to us, the suppliers, up to us, the citizens, to set up what we're now trying to call a private members bill. Because I know what's happening in the mines, and it's not everything that government knows. We need to have a monitoring team in place so that we know what is a capital project of buying a machine, a yellow machine in the mine, and what is a normal purchase of buying an engine for a cut machine. We were lied to in the previous regime that everything was capital projects. And that's how the mines were siphoning money out, and that's how the mines were buying goods. Everything was capital, 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 capital. I know of a company called 15MCC. The entire Chambeshi output today in terms of procurement is over 1 billion, and no Zambian is benefiting from that. That is why my association and people in my association and friends who have been doing this are saying we need to assist government. Let's not condemn everything government does. What is it that I can offer government in terms of checks and balances of these mines? So what we're trying to create here is a regimen for us to go and show government this is revenue that you are missing out. This is what can empower. As you are saying, if we got 40% of the $3.5 billion, we would have seen highways in Kitwe. We would have seen skyscrapers in Kitwe. In the Northwest, output of Zambian empowerment or Zambian local suppliers is less than 10%. Everything goes to South Africa and Australia. There is nothing that I cannot supply. We are supplying sophisticated equipment. We have the capacity to bring people, electric shovels, which are being supplied. We have people who are coming from abroad. We have I have a joint venture with a German company that supplies underground support. Because of the business that we have given them, they had to make a manufacturing plant in South Africa because in Zambia it was so expensive. So the machinery is in South Africa. We just buy steel locally and we ship here into Zambia and Congo. And that's what we're trying to talk about. We also need to look at our taxes. We also need to give our people our tax breaks. But let's not just condemn government. Let us engage government. Let us engage these people, because what I might know, the government doesn't know. The government doesn't know that the mines are pilfering by telling that in terms of any capital project, they've got a direct debit from government so that government cannot actually tax them. So they are on rebate with government. So what they are going to do is they will cluster the whole spare parts department and say, we need to procure spares for $5 million, and they'll call it capital project. When in fact, if you dismantled this, you can actually empower more than 10 companies. And I must state here live on TV that the businessmen and women on the copper belt are very different from the businessmen around the country. Without taking anything out, in the mines, we are very disciplined. There are people from Lusaka, so I must not just mention the copper belt. There are people from Lusaka who are supplying, and they're very disciplined. We do not supply inferior material. We supply goods and at the correct price and at the correct time. So going forward, I want to engage Zesco. I want to engage the Minister of Mines. I want to engage the Commerce Minister so that we work together and formulate how we're going to empower people. I'm not one who's here to condemn, okay, after I have not tried. So we are still in an engagement position, and it's only after we do that that we can see the fruits. Going forward, we need our youth not to be in this get rich quickly mood. You need time. You need to understand your business. You need to understand the law. You need government to support you. We need our financial institutions to support us. And that's where we are going. And that's why this government, I supported it, because these are some of the things that I was promised would be done. And I'm not going to stop at only waiting, but I will push for these reforms. That's where we are going. So,
yeah, Mr. Mufonka, if Zambia had so many brave people like you, Zambia would move forward. I know for sure that there are issues there at the mines, because those guys, they want to make as much money in Zambia as possible, because things like supplying, it should have been a local suppliers, unless it's a capital intensive item. But Walia, this is when Ministry of Finance needs to come in, because we need to pass different laws. We need reforms. We need a law with the help of you guys and the experts, and classify which item is capital and which one is not capital. And then when they are importing those products, revenue authority are also trained to check whether that item is capital or not capital. Because if it's not capital, then it should be taxed.
Correct.
So what you're doing, because there've been issues at the mines where they cook the books, and there's what you are saying is they are saying they are buying everything from Australia and other countries. Is because they're trying to transfer the prices. It's called transfer pricing. It's one way of siphoning money, and I can assure you, the price at which those foreigners are selling those products is much higher than what you can sell, because they're trying to transfer the price. The less profit they make, the less taxes they pay here, and they've siphoned money away because they are buying from their friends' companies, or their companies that are connected to them. This has to stop, and it takes people like you, Bwalya. And I don't regret bringing you here, because what you're revealing here are very important issues, because our ministers are sitting in Lusaka, they don't know what is happening. And then with what Zesco is doing now, buying things abroad, will just open a web of everybody now buying from abroad, because Zesco can do it. Yeah. Okay. Let's move forward. Uh, uh, we talked about now, Wadia. There's news. I hope you know about it. We understand the mines in northwestern province. We talk of Kasanshi, Lumwana, Kalumbila. They're trying to set up a solar wind power farm or station in Solwezi, hence competing with Zesco. So which means whatever they were buying from Zesco, which is a parastatal, taxes and other things, they will bypass that. Obviously, they will make so much power. Maybe they'll only be buying 50% from Zesco. And well, yeah, you remember HH promised us that going forward, whichever new companies come into Zambia or are started in Zambia, they should go 50-50 with Zambians. Though we haven't seen this law, I don't know when it's gonna come. What do you think about that? Should this company go 50-50 with Zambians? The fact that Zesco is going to be affected here. Over to you, my brother.
I will answer it in two folds. I think it's a fantastic idea that the mines would actually want to do that. But on whose land? Our land. That makes us an equity partner. Now, this is where we can equalize. Our land, government can guarantee us loans from abroad, and we build it for them. Okay? So they bring in financial investment, we bring in equity, and we bring in the land. And we propel this with investment together. It's simple. It's welcome. Because we're going to have extra generation of power, we can export to other neighboring countries. We cannot stop this, but we need to join in. I think that is very important. Very, very important in that if a Zambian can own, or Zambian can own 65% shareholding, then we are in control of our own destiny. Let us not go 50-50. 50-50, this is our land. Already that's equity. And government can guarantee us in terms of if we had to borrow from outside. I think they did that with Mamba Collieries, if I'm not mistaken. But they guaranteed this for a foreign company. So why not guarantee us as Zambians? Let the people of Northwestern form a company which can be guaranteed by government to borrow from outside. These are huge capital projects which can actually be supported by government.
That's fantastic, my brother. Few months ago, you are aware about that. If not 2-3 months ago, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema announced that the Black Mountain which you all know belonged to the Jerabos or the Kalobo family, the famous Kalobo family, was given to the youth cooperatives in 10 districts of Kopala, which is Copperbelt province. My first question is this true before we move on?
My first answer is I liked it as a tourist attraction. Now you're bringing it down. So what will I call Kitwe without the Black Mountain?
Yeah,
It is.
so are
It
you
is.
agreeing that the president did that?
I am agreeing, and I've seen it being demolished.
Just a minute. I'm having a problem here. It's okay. Let's move on. We are on the Black Mountain. So this Black Mountain has been given to the youth of Kopala as part of empowerment. Obviously, cooperatives, you mentioned cooperatives is the way to go. Are the youth currently benefiting from the Black Mountain? And if not, why or what is happening?
Firstly, I have reservations for the empowerment, as much as it's welcome. And my question is it serving its purpose? Who is really benefiting? I think my honest opinion answer is this is a mess. And I think we would have done better. I think we would have sold the entire mountain and taken the money and given to cooperatives. Because all I see is young boys, drunks, again, abusing drugs at this mountain. The other day they blocked a road. Are these the people who want to empower? No. I might not be the right person to answer this because I've never been a person who supports free things. And this is what our previous guys did. Every time they made a mistake, they supported it by empowering people with money, cash money, buses, in terms of infrastructure, tankers and stuff. I think this should come to a stop. Let us not give free money. Let people work for these things. If you drive along our due carriageway, you'll see what kind of a mess we have. Everybody is going with a shovel, spade, a hoe, and in the evening they are going back to drink, and they are closing roads. Kitwe is not about Jerabos. Kitwe is not about the mountain. We've got well-respected people in Kitwe and the Copper Belt at large. We've got people who have worked hard, people who actually supported this government. And you see, in Kitwe, we are a bit respectful. Although everybody compares us to our friends, we don't want to see police on the road. It brings a fright to us because we are law-abiding citizens. There is two classes of Kitwe. There is our Jerabo friends and the normal citizen in Kitwe. And I think we would like to see a proper accountability of what we've done. And I think people are a bit upset that we thought this was the end. But at the end of the day, I hope whoever is benefiting in terms of the cooperatives will use this money into good use. But really, I think it would have been done in a better way. I'm not saying it's not a better way, but I think a better way in terms of control, in terms of not having so many people on the mountain, because I think it's a bit dangerous. Although the minister has guaranteed us safety, but I think we can do things better. And then the question also comes back: are these the only voters? Because even in the last regime, it was the same Black Mountain. I will never go to the Black Mountain personally. So what is my benefit? And this is what we're crying for today. Say, look, even now, when Zesco wants to advertise polls, you still want to go abroad, but you have actually empowered our friends at the Black Mountain. So going forward, we're not only going to complain, but we're going to bring solutions to the table, and we're going to bring partnerships to the table. And look, I think we need to meet somehow. I think we've got an open kind of governance system right now where we are being heard, and it's a good thing. And moving forward, we need to engage more. The people who know should not be shut out. it does not mean when you are talking, then you're anti-government as it was before. I think the current government is allowing anybody to talk, to use any media platform. And that is why you see our friends in the last regime are always on TV. This is something that they never allowed, but we have allowed. So even me, when I'm talking of saying, how do we make it better? Because I think we've got another 5, 6 years, 10 years to try and better our country. Look, you and me, when you started, you said it was in the 80s. Do you know how many years is that? That's more than 40 years. We cannot wait for another 40 years. We'll be dead by that time. We'll be no more. Okay? We need to leave a country, and we need to leave a legacy. We all can't be leaders, but we all can participate in the growth of this country. We can participate in bettering the other person next door, in creating employment, in creating an opportunity for others. Once I create an opportunity for others, I'm also creating an opportunity for myself. I'm creating an opportunity for my children. I think that is the way forward. The Black Mountain is a big mess. And I think since it's already there, let us see how best we can try and still hold it down and people benefit. I think I have never taken time to wanting to understand how it works because I have simply no interest. I don't like the Black Mountain. But obviously the powers be it, they should have sat down, they saw the merits and the demerits of it, and that's how they released it. And I think, look, I think if people can have something to do, something to eat, I think it's okay. It's not about me not wanting it or me trying to say we can do it in a better way. But I think if the majority of people who sat on that committee found it useful, I think let us support them and let's see how we can move forward.
You know, one important thing you mentioned, which I'm happy about, is we've got a government that allows people to talk, and this government also listens. And that's why we've got a lot of propagandists going to the press. They can say whatever they want because we've got a new government. Listens, freedom of speech. But again, on this channel, we don't just criticize, we also offer solutions. And this is what you're doing. You're not just talking, you mentioned something very important because there's a lot of commotion in Kitwe. I'm even worried. I'm coming to Zambia. The other day there was shooting, there were demonstrations just because of the Black Mountain. And you mentioned something very, very important that maybe it should have been sold, maybe for $5 million. And then instead of people going there at the Black Mountain, that 5 million can be shared on 10 cooperatives, which is 500,000 each dollars, which is a lot of money. Then they can go into farming, outgrow a scheme to start planting the pause for Zesco. They can go to Nakambala and start planting sugar canes. Yeah, but all those are just suggestions, and we need to offer such suggestions because the Black Mountain, there's so many respectable people in Kitwe, and Kitwe is a very peaceful town, lovely, beautiful town. But with that commotion at the Black Mountain and surrounding areas, is not good for business in Kitwe. Let's move forward. Fast forward. So we were on the Black Mountain, the chaos. Apart from the Black Mountain, no, you mentioned also that a lot of people are not benefiting. So who else apart from our youth and the vulnerable ladies who are at the Black Mountain, who else is benefiting? If I may ask that question.
As I had put it, I think I don't want you to put me in problems. I don't know who's benefiting. The question is, it's very simple. I don't know. What contracts they are, but I think going forward, we need to try and enhance it and see and protect it, and let's see how many people are going to actually come out of it. Let's not point fingers because people who have actually settled this thing have worked extremely hard under very difficult conditions. Actually, this is one of the promises of the UPND government that when they came to power, they would actually empower the local small-scale miners and Jerabos. And I think they've done that. And look, this is the start. Let's not castigate them. Let's not point fingers of who has done this because there's a lot of news flying social media, which is not true. But I think let us support them. And this is the first. Come on. I think we need to to see how best we can now accommodate other people. I think what's important is how do we move forward, and not what people have done. I think we also need to commend that, look, they were under pressure, a lot of pressure, because the president mentioned it. And you see, when he was mentioned it was like a campaign promise. So I think he's done
Yes.
well, and it has come to pass. And obviously, it won't be the best, but going forward, maybe in another town where we still have what's allowed them, it will be done better. I think what's important is let us support this idea. And let's not point fingers at who did this ABCD. People have spent a lot of time to try and build capacity in the locals, and to actually have this thing started. So I think the best is to support it.
Yeah, before you're still there, are the Kopala people benefiting from the mines? What's your
Well, yes,
view?
yes, I think they are, but the biggest problem that I can see is that everybody wants to go and benefit now. Everybody calls me, you were with these people, can I have a cooperative registered? People want to leave their work because there's free money coming this side. So that is where I have apprehension on that. So in terms of benefit, we shall see, because you also don't expect the government, after they give you money, to go and show what benefit has been there. It's for you to grow that money as a cooperative, because government has done its part.
Yeah. Now we're getting closer to. We've done very well. Thank you so much. I commend you, because we had maximum 2 hours, because we've got a program, Linda Banks show, starting at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock Zambian time, which is 8 o'clock UK, and we are on time. And we were expecting some people to ask questions, or to our Kwetu family to come in and ask questions, but we don't have anybody. I'm just trying to scroll through because we read some questions from our viewers. So I'm just looking at some of the questions. Yeah. Yeah, we've got Linda Banks here. She's saying, you're right, the Black Mountain is a mess. Today, youths have died in an illegal mining activity in Stumbeko. Do you know where Stumbeko is, Babwalya?
From the name Stombeko, I think maybe it should be North Western Province.
It
I'm not
should
sure.
be, yes. I'm just reading some comments. The problem with Zambians, we don't want to share like the Jerabos. If we love one another, work as a unity and honesty, and hence the president is promoting cooperatives where there is eco share. What can you say about that?
I think it's a fair observation, and I think cooperatives is the way to go. I think we had cooperatives before, and they worked quite well during the counter time, the unit, before they were dismantled in the MMD. Yeah, I think he's right.
Yeah. We're going through comments about the people. I want the Black Mountain removed. It's been polluting the environment big time. In case people do not know, it was discharging many trace metals into the Uchi and finally Kafue. However, there should be proper rehabilitation of the site to stop any further generation of pollutants after the materials is removed. What's your comment on that?
Well, was it not the smelter which was producing that
It should it
called
should, it should be
center?
it should be it should be the smelter, not
Yeah,
not the Black Mountain.
yeah,
Yeah.
Alpha being noted. Yeah, but anyway, one of our biggest tourist attraction in Kitwe is going to go the Black Mountain. Every time we used to, I remember when we were young, my Ivana Museva used to work for CPC. When she moved to
Mm.
Ndeke, remember, we used to wait
Yes,
for
I
it to come
do.
and drop. It would be red hot in the night.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, when they were dropping those things, yeah, it would be red hot, yeah, in the night. Yeah. The solar power generation is positive, and I agree that let's be jointly owned with Zambians. You see the consensus there now.
Correct,
It,
yes.
yeah, because the investors might say the current um, 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 contracts we have, they were signed before. So if you come with a new law, you cannot change it. But this is a new investment. Why can Zambians benefit? Davis Simbai, he's right. We just need to group and just monitor the mines cooperation in the best way possible. I don't know what he means by that.
What he actually means is setting up monitoring groups of people to monitor all these mines. You see, it's not like you're interfering with the running of the mines. It's simple. Even ZRA have got officers in these mines, and they monitor the production. So we can also have a monitoring in terms of what KPIs. These are key performance indicators in procurement. So we can actually monitor these things.
Yeah, they can also monitor which products are bought from abroad, which are whether they are capital or they are not.
I'll tell you of a funny story whilst you're trying to scroll down. There's a company from South Africa which was supplying river sand in Solwezi, Kansanshi. Imagine they were supplying river sand. And guess where the river sand was coming from? From our own rivers, right
Yes.
there in Solwezi. But the African company was supplying.
No ways. Can you believe it? A South African company supplying our own sand.
Yes. And they were given a huge contract.
You know, these are the things because I've also heard. I know friends. You know, I worked in South Africa. I know friends from South Africa, accountants who are not as equally as qualified because these jobs are advertised in South Africa. Can you believe it? I think
Not
it
true.
was Lumwana or Kalumbila. They were advertising the jobs in South Africa. And then the people they employed, one of them I knew had only a diploma in accounting. And yet we've got Zambians, we've got degrees from Copperbelt University, and we've got Zambians with ACCA, but they go and employ their friends in South Africa. It's unbelievable. And somehow the question is, which immigration gave this person what? Because here in the UK, Bwalya, if you are here already, you've got the papers, there's no problem. There's no you can get any job you want. But if you're applying for a job from Zambia, the first thing they do is that job while you're applying for a shortage job, the job that is in shortage. One, that's the first criteria. Two, don't we have British people who can do that job? That's the second hurdle. And those are the rules from Home Office.
I'll tell you something.
So before
Don't
even
forget.
I'll allow you to talk. Before even the company start advertising that job, just the second point, they failed. Is that a shortage job? Because Home Office has got a list of jobs that are in shortage. Nursing is one of them. Doctors, because we've got just too many hospitals and private hospitals. So there's a shortage of nurses and doctors and midwifery. So is it shortage? Yes, it's nursing is what. But the companies struggle because you cannot go and bring somebody with a diploma from Zambia to come to become an accountant in the UK. Well, in the UK, there are people with degrees and other things. So we should have laws like that in Zambia. Is it corruption? Go ahead, my brother.
Well, you don't forget that we're a British colony. So we have the same rules. But our friends, when they're advertising, they will advertise for an accountant. Okay? But when they come to offer the job, that's why even the monuments actually are higher. They will advertise for a bigger job. Okay? Because you find that the easiest work permit to get in Zambia is that of a chef. And people get work permits as chefs, but they're accountants. If
But
you
the
go around the
accountant.
mines, yeah, if you go around the mines, again, when you monitor, you'll find that a lot of people don't actually have the correct permits. And because our friends were in very good terms of getting kickbacks and getting job opportunities for their relatives, they looked away, and the ministers were actually the ones actually pursuing the work permits. They would say, okay, for this, you need to give us 20 work permits. And they wouldn't say, okay, just go and get. That is where the biggest problem was.
Yeah, you're right, my brother. We've got a problem because, and just like what you've mentioned, and when you look at um, uh, the salaries of these people, because they're coming in as expatriates, a Zambian accountant would be paid. I would give you an example, maybe about between 15 and 20,000 kwacha. These
Yeah,
guys, they will quote their salaries in dollars, $10,000, because and then holidays, 2 holidays in a year. Somebody who is not as qualified as a Zambian.
it's
I,
correct.
I
Yeah.
will tell you something. There was a company, there was an international organization that were employing people for Zambia in the UK. So I looked at the advert, and I said, I'm Zambian. So these guys are saying we're gonna apply work permits for you and everything. I don't need a work permit. And some of the jobs I was even more qualified. It's an international organization. So I picked up the phone, called the agency. I'm Zambian, and it says, "Oh, apply." So when I applied, after a few seconds, when they received my, they says, "No, you haven't been shortlisted." Then I challenged the lady and said, "No, no, 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 no. When you look at the criteria, I qualify almost because some of the jobs were diplomas in Zambia, an international NGO in
Mm.
Zambia." So I challenged them and says, "If you're really serious, if I'm a Zambian, I'm in the UK, I'm trained in the UK, you're looking for people who are trained in the UK, and and I won't be an expatriate, I'll be a Zambian. You won't pay me that much." But they said no. They couldn't give reasons. They just said you haven't been shortlisted. Immediately, I just emailed my application. After a few minutes, they told me you haven't been shortlisted.
Because they knew what they were doing.
So, Walia, I felt so bad that I'm discriminated in my own country
No,
because
I
those
think you were
jobs are for
discriminated.
Zambia. Eh? Can you believe it? So then
Yeah,
my mind says, where am I going to be treated as a person if I'm discriminated abroad in the UK, which is things have changed now. If in the UK now, if you're black, you qualified, the laws are very strong, you can get any job you want. But before it was difficult. But things have changed now. But the question is, if I'm treated like a foreigner in the UK and also in Zambia, I'm treated like a foreigner. It was quite shocking. Over to you, my brother. Now we're coming towards the end, your closing remarks. But in your closing remarks, I just want you to mention something. You said when you were joining, you started supporting HH. You believed in his roadmap, and you also believe that HH was the best leader to develop Zambia or to move Zambia forward as their symbol, as the symbol of our party. And you also said we need to support HH. So, do you still believe HH is still the best leader to develop Zambia or move Zambia forward? And also, how should we support HH? Your closing remarks. We've got 5 minutes to close this
I
program.
still, I still believe in him, and I will believe in him, and I will believe in him. Why? I think he's not alone in this fight. It's for all of us to go there, support, and we also need to inform the people of what's happening. He will not be there every day in our pubs, in our churches, in our play groups, in our lay groups. As the people who actually have got information need to bring this information out. You know, when you're advising somebody, you do not castigate them, you make them understand. And I think they're very open. What we have now is a situation where we just want to condemn without a solution. I think they're human beings, they're bound to make mistakes, and running a government is not easy. And I think what they found is they found themselves in a very difficult, a very big predicament, and all they need is our support. And if I can contribute today, and I'll contribute in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, for the betterment of our country, I think it will be a plus. We want to achieve together. It is not only for him to achieve, it's for all of us to achieve. What are we achieving? We're achieving a better Zambia. He's the only president for now until 2026 that we need to support. We cannot wait until he fails. Okay? We should never stop supporting him. Even at the very last end, we should support him because he's the president we have voted. And I'm asking everybody who's got the intellectual capacity, even some of us, I've read something very funny from my friend. How can we fail to supply POS 55 years after independence? This Martin Simumba is also one of the suppliers of those Zesco POS. So I think he's a very good friend of mine. He's my older brother, and I think he understands what I'm trying to talk about. So I think going forward, we need to have an audience with Zesco, but let us approach them in a professional manner and in an advisory manner and see what they want to do and see how we can help. I think it's an insult for Zesco to come to us and say we cannot supply these things. I think let's move forward and let's engage. Engagement should be at every level, and let's not wait for government, because I think he's given us enough manpower and people to actually execute his roadmap. I think he's making an enabling environment to try and achieve our goals. He will not achieve alone. I think he needs our support. And one thing I want to now turn around and say, the people of TVBakwetu on Thursday, you were very biased. Bakasonso was very, very bad. And I want to, Bakasonso is in which country?
He's in America.
He's in America. I think Bakasonso needs to understand that the dynamics in Zambia are very, very different. We have not yet reached the stage where he's at. I understand because I think I've got a little bit of exposure of knowing how other countries are doing business. But in our country, I think we need to support each other because this is a very big industry. And that is why the president foresaw and made the SME. I think a lot of people are actually very happy that we have decided to go and engage Zesco. You know, what is very difficult in Zambia is I myself, who is a player in this thing, if I do engage Zesco, and if I fail to start getting business, it will be a fall on me. So people are afraid to talk. And I'm asking people, this is an open government. It allows you to talk, but let's criticize constructively. And let us make sure that even when we are advising and when we are criticizing, it's something that we've tried and tested. So I am not, again, I'm not scared to say I will engage my friends. Even if I don't get this tender, somebody else gets a tender, but I'll be happy to see it go to Zambian companies.
That was a fantastic closing remark. And thank you so much once again for coming. This was a fantastic program. I can see from the comments from the viewers, my brother, that was fantastic. I don't regret bringing you on this program because you articulated a lot of issues and you've offered solutions, and especially to the youth. Thank you so much once again. And our viewers, we are now coming to the end of this special Sunday edition of the Bakwetu TV. Thank you so much for your viewership once again. We are now coming to the close of the program. Thank you so much. God bless our beloved mother Zambia. Bye for now. Good night.